is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning. National examination results are out. 22% get C or above in 3 key subjects. The F&M naming more candidates as their leader, Michael Pintard, urging F&Ms to vote. And in business, we're getting a different perspective on the taxi cab issue, the controversy between the taxi cab union and the livery drivers union. Somebody else with a lot to think about this morning. You don't want to miss that. That's all straight ahead. I'm Dwight, Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Friday, August 29th, 2025. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Chester Robards will be here on this Friday morning. That's all ahead. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while you're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, the Ministry of Education announcing that of the 1,684 candidates who sat 5 or more BGCSEs, a total of 37.2%, or just 627 candidates, obtained a grade of C or higher. A total of 6,103 candidates from 108 centers sat the 2025 BGCSEs, an increase from 2024, which saw 5,934 candidates. In 2024, 11% of the candidates received a C or higher. Of the 1,684 candidates who sat 5 or more subjects this year, a total of 970 candidates achieved a minimum D grade, and in at least 5 subjects, representing 57.6%. Back in 2024, the ministry reported that 1,009 students, or 17%, achieved a minimum grade of D. Director of Education Dominique McCartney-Russell addressing the decline in 3 subjects, biology, bookkeeping and accounts, and mathematics, holding a cumulative percentage below 50%. She stated that the decline indicates that there is further work to be done. However, she noted an uptick in positive performance for trade subjects. The Free National Movement ratifying more candidates overnight or last night during an event at the party's headquarters on Mackey Street. Senator Michaela Barnett Ellis announced as the candidate in Killarney, where there's been some controversy with the F&M's decision not to ratify former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. Other candidates ratified included F&M National Vice Chairman Lincoln Deal II, will be vying for Freetown. F&M Secretary General Serpent Roll for Tall Pines, Heather McDonald in Engliston, and Travania Clark Hall in Seabreeze. Former parliamentarian Travis Robinson also ratified for Fort Charlotte. Total of 3 men and 4 women ratified last night. F&M leader Michael Pintard urging supporters to show up at the polls, referring to the state of the country's healthcare system and continued concerns over crime. Pintard warned that 5 more years of the PLP would be detrimental to the country. A 54-year-old man jailed for 12 years after he admitted to sex crimes against a minor. Tony Brown received the sentence when he accepted a plea deal during an appearance before Justice Renee McKay. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse. The charges stem from incidents that took place in September 2023 in New Providence, when the victim was 12 years old, and in August 2024 when she was 13. Both incidents happened while the victim was visiting a family friend who was dating the accused. Brown has been in custody since he was formally charged with the crimes in December 2024. According to the terms of the agreement, Brown will receive credit for the time spent on remand. Following his release from custody, Brown will be placed on probation for 1 year. He'll be sent to prison for a year if he breaches the terms of his probation. And a man accused of shooting his father before decapitating him, and a relative accused of helping cover up the crime, court Thursday to receive the evidence that will be presented at their trial. Prosecutors allege that 23-year-old Shanton Ferguson shot and killed his father, 57-year-old Sean Ferguson, in his Masons Bay Acklands home on May 25th, and then cut off his head, while a 16-year-old is accused of helping him move the body. Police officers found the businessman buried in a shallow grave on a beach after his relatives reported him missing. Senior Magistrate Algernon Allen Jr. telling the accused the documents weren't ready and adjourned the matter to November 27th. Shanton remains on remand while his co-accused is free on bail. MPLP Chairman Fred Mitchell warning Bahamians to be wary of an avalanche of fake news on social media. In recent weeks, members of the Coalition for Independence and other groups have been accusing the government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of, quote, selling passports like candy. Mitchell saying, quote, what is worse is the tendency of so many social actors to accept what are, in most cases, illogical and irrational conspiracy theories, even individuals who are normally discerning. He said the attacks on the integrity of Bahamian passports and work permits without any supporting evidence other than rumors are self-defeating. Overseas, Israel today declaring Gaza's largest city a dangerous combat zone and said it was in the initial stages of a planned offensive that has drawn international condemnation. Israel's military said it suspended midday pauses to fighting, which had allowed food and aid supplies to enter from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., while also reporting it had recovered bodies of 2 hostages and vowed its military offensive would return more. The shift comes weeks after Israel first announced plans to widen its offensive in Gaza City, where hundreds of thousands of displaced people are sheltering and enduring famine. The resumption of around-the-clock fighting is the latest escalation after Israel reported strikes in some of the city's key neighborhoods and called up tens of thousands of reservists. And the death toll in a major Russian missile and drone strike on the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv rose to 23, including 4 children, as U.S.-led efforts to end the 3-year war remain stuck in apparent limbo. Authorities in the Kyiv region declared Friday an official day of mourning. Flags flew at half-staff, and all entertainment events were canceled after Russia hammered Ukraine with almost 600 drones and more than 30 missiles overnight from Wednesday to Thursday, including rare strikes of downtown Kyiv. Rescue workers pulled 17 people from the rubble after the Kyiv attack, among them 4 children. The youngest victim was a 2-year-old girl. Some bodies have yet to be identified, and 8 people remain unaccounted for. According to authorities, more than 50 people were injured. And the United States is boosting its maritime force in the waters off Venezuela to combat threats from Latin American drug cartels, with the expected arrival of more vessels next week. The U.S. government has not signaled any planned land incursion from the more than 4,000 personnel being deployed to the area, and analysts and current and former government officials see no possibility of an invasion in Venezuela. But the deployment dominating conversations in the streets and at dinner tables in Venezuela, where an alleged threat of invasion is spilling over from social media and state television. The government's capitalized on the speculation by appealing to people, primarily its diminishing base, to enlist in a beleaguered militia, while the opposition is once again characterizing U.S. actions as a sign of President Nicolas Maduro's rule coming to an end. And the United States announcing Thursday that it's seeking UN authorization for a new gang suppression force to help tackle the escalating violence in Haiti, where armed groups have expanded their brutal activities from the capital into the countryside. Acting U.S. Ambassador Dorothy Shea making the announcement at a UN Security Council meeting, but it's unclear how it would differ from the Kenya-led multinational security support force now deployed in the violence-torn Caribbean nation. The U.S. thanking Kenya for ambassador thanking Kenya for answering Haiti's call at a critical moment and a leading multinational force for more than a year, saying that without it, quote, the gangs would have been even more emboldened in their ambitions and brazen atrocities against civilians in Haiti. She said the U.S. and Panama will be circulating a draft resolution to the Security Council to establish the gang suppression force and create a UN support office to provide logistical support to it. Back in February, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres proposed opening an office that would provide drones, fuel, ground, and air transportation and other non-lethal support to the Kenya-led mission. In sports, with the World Championships set for a late hosting this year, the focus shifts to the two-day Wanda Diamond League final in Zurich, Switzerland. That meet, featuring some of the world's top track and field stars taking part in their respective disciplines, Wednesday and Thursday in northern Switzerland. Devin Charlton, the lone Bahamian in action, competing in her specialty, the women's 100-meter hurdles. She had to settle for 7th in a very tough field, running a season's best time, though, of 12.52 seconds. Jamaica's Akira Nugent won, matching her season's best time of 12.30. New Providence Basketball Association gearing up for its players to participate in international friendlies against teams from the Florida Basketball Association. The event is set for September 11th through 13th in Orlando. The NPBA will be represented by a combination of Division I and Division II players, set to face 3 teams from the FBA. And from the NFL, Micah Parsons is headed to Green Bay, the Green Bay Packers, after a blockbuster trade on Thursday, leaving the Dallas Cowboys following a lengthy contract dispute. The Packers giving up first-round picks in 2026 and 2027, along with 3-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark, to get the 2-time All-Pro edge rusher agreed to a contract extension with Green Bay. A person with knowledge of the details telling the Associated Press the Packers are giving Parsons a record-setting $188 million 4-year contract that includes $136 million guaranteed. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones said he offered Parsons more guaranteed money. The person who spoke to the AP on condition of anonymity said that wasn't accurate, though. Parsons becomes the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Jones declined to discuss Parsons' deal with his agent, who represents Parsons, along with Andre Odom. Instead, Jones spoke directly to Parsons and insisted they had agreed on the parameters of a new contract. Jones was also the team's general manager, insisted that he made a deal that helps the team win, citing the need to improve the run defense. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. Your first look at weather brought to you by Star General. Another heat advisory in effect for the Bahamas between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. today. Everyone's being advised to remain hydrated, limit time outdoors, and avoid strenuous activity. Heat indices, again, in the triple digits. So moisture ahead of a frontal boundary just north of the Bahamas, in conjunction with a weak upper-level disturbance, will spark some shower and thunderstorm activity, mainly across the northern and northwest Bahamas tonight. A weak ridging pattern dominates weather across the rest of the country. Rain chances will remain elevated into the weekend, particularly across the northern and northwest Bahamas, as that front meanders just north of the area. Additional ridging along with the increased tropical moisture will support showers and thunderstorms into the beginning of the first week of September next week. So for today, forecast partly cloudy to cloudy through tonight for the extreme northern islands, but for the rest of the country, partly sunny, becoming partly cloudy to cloudy this afternoon in the northwest Bahamas, and afternoon showers and thunderstorms likely for the central and southeast Bahamas. Most of the country seeing a 20 to 30% chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms, especially in the morning, increasing to 40 to 60% by this afternoon into this evening for the northern and northwest Bahamas. Winds southeast to south at 10 knots or less, falling light and variable at times this afternoon. For the extreme northern islands, southeast to south at 10 knots or less, falling light and variable by this afternoon. For the central and south and northwest Bahamas, and east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots for the southeast Bahamas. Temperatures today around 81 highs, but the heat index will make you feel like it's 106 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to a very warm 81 Fahrenheit. And 27 Celsius. Highs are again around 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius. Lows around 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. That is extended outlook for your weekend. And a look at the tropics coming up in just a bit. This weather check brought to you by Star General Insurance Made Simple.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
You are listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day. Guardian Radio 96.9.
Wake up, it's a new day.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Looking to elevate your gadget game, or are tech troubles simply slowing you down? Escape to a world of innovation at Custom Computers, your go-to store for the latest cutting edge to grade your life with the best from Apple and Windows, or your device needs a little TLC. The Custom Computers Know-How Store is the destination for unbeatable expertise and quality repairs. With 2 convenient locations at Custom Computers near you on Patton Street in Palmdale and Caves Village, or call 396-1100.
Planning for retirement can be overwhelming, but with CFAL, it doesn't have to be. We offer tailor-made individual, group, and pension solutions that take the guesswork out of retirement planning. Whether it's for you or your company, don't leave your future to chance and let the trusted hands of CFAL's experts guide you toward peace of mind and financial stability. Low upfront costs and affordable monthly payments make it easy for you to build wealth so you can live well. Visit us at cfal.com to start on your path toward financial freedom. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Wake up.
This October, Bahama invites you to indulge your senses at the Culinary and Arts Festival, where world-class flavors meet creativity in the heart of the Bahamas. Join us October 22nd through 26th for an unforgettable celebration featuring culinary legends Marcus Samuelson, Dario Zucchini, Simeon Hall Jr., and Scott Conant, alongside a vibrant lineup of chefs and mixologists. Explore captivating art installations, interactive workshops, and live performances, all set against the stunning backdrop of Nassau's premier luxury resort. From curated tasting events to beachfront feasts and immersive gallery experiences, this is more than a festival. It's a full soul. Tickets and packages are going fast. Visit bahamar.com to reserve your spot at the Culinary and Arts Festival at Bahamar, where taste and talent take center stage.
It's time to upgrade the way you enjoy at-home entertainment. Alive Fiber is here. Enjoy all your favorite channels and streaming apps, all at lightning-fast internet speeds with affordable bundles and its own click away. Visit www.alivefiber.com to sign up now. Stay connected, live your life. It's good to be alive.
With RBC,
your ideas become plans.
Your plans become memories.
And your dreams become your life.
Whether it's planning that family vacation, owning your dream home, or retiring comfortably, your ideas are everything. And RBC is here to help make them happen. With RBC, your ideas happen here.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. Don't you know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Join me on this final show for August 2025. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Chester Robards.
Good morning.
We didn't see you on Wednesday.
We didn't?
You were busy working.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yes.
Well, great to have you on a Friday.
Glad to be here.
All right. Got a lot to talk about. We have been, over the past 2 weeks, if you are a regular listener, you know we've presented both sides of this debate. The livery drivers on a couple weeks ago. This week we had the taxi cab union, and you've heard their perspectives on this controversy they're having at the airports, at the hotels, both going after that small pool of passengers. I'm going to get a different perspective on what the problem here. I'm going to make this a long tease. I won't tell you yet who's going to be here, but I'll give you a little clue to that part of the show coming business. But you don't want to miss it. Don't want to miss it. Chester's looking all perplexed. Even he doesn't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's straight ahead. But right now we've got a lot to talk about in the news. And in the news, big night for the F&M. They announced more candidates. That's, what is that, seven? Seven candidates, 3 men and 4 women ratified last night. Denali Penn-Mackey, Heather McDonald, Trevania Clark Hall, Michaela Barnett Ellis, who's a senator now, Lincoln Deal, Serpent Roll, and Travis Robinson are going to be on the ticket for the upcoming general election. So you can read more about them and who they're running for in today's National Guardian. Yeah.
Who they're running for?
So, as in the constituency.
Oh, this constituency.
Right. Which constituency they're running for. Right. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So, well, now that I didn't mean it, but now that you went there, because some of the names just a few weeks ago were associated with other things. So, you never know. You never know. You never know. This is the most fluid political climate country in the world. One day you're this, one day you're that. It's like, you got a Baskin Robbins type of thing going on here. How many flavors you could pick which one today and another one. You never know. You never know. And who knows what the closer we get to the election. So, oh well. We mentioned this yesterday, and you would have thought, okay, well, somebody, right? I said it yesterday how it's amazing how the National Guardian's been doing this park series. Right. And started off just, hey, my gosh, because there were complaints. People were complaining. Yeah. And our wonderful photographer, Torrell Glinton, went out there and took some pictures. And within a couple of days, the park was cleaned up and fixed everything. Right? Remember that? Yeah. And then he went to another park. Same thing. Mm-hmm. Took some pictures. A few days later, park fixed up. And so now it's an ongoing thing. Yeah. Every week, one or two parks getting exposed, and then a few days later, the park is fixed up. But it's like at some point, you must say, well, oh my God, well, let's just go and fix up all the parks, right?
We're going to check on my park.
No, it's not happening. We just mentioned this yesterday, and today another park is in the paper. I mean, there's a giant hole that's like a what? Could end up in a different planet if you go down that slide. And
Black
fall
hole.
Through that hole.
If you even try to attempt to go down that's like one of them meat slices.
Yeah.
They cut the deli slices.
Shredder. I don't even know if that's wood anymore on those steps. But anyway, it continues, and it's just amazing.
Well, those benches ain't benches no more.
I don't think so. Wow. I mean, they're being reclaimed by the earth. But when will it stop? I mean, there is a beaches and parks still, right? Department or whatever they're called,
I think
right?
So.
What are they doing? I don't understand. But anyway, I guess maybe they forgot where all the parks are, and they're waiting for the Guardian to show them. Like, oh yes, that is a park. Right, I forgot. Yeah, that street. Okay, I don't go in that area normally. Okay, thanks, Guardian.
Maybe they leave it to the constituency? I don't know.
Somebody must know that this park is not fit. Let's do something about it. What's the budget for beaches and parks? Isn't it millions?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like the beaches are looking any good. There's seaweed all over, especially in some parts of the island.
What's wrong with seaweed?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you during the break. And it's been very hot. It's very smelly. It's terrible. And the water turns brown. I mean, it's not pleasant.
It's natural.
You can't let it stick around for too long. Really horrible. You can smell it half a mile down the road.
Yeah.
It's really, well, the Sargasso thing is really bad. But anyway, let's move on. All right, so the national examination results. Every year it's the same story, right? We have challenges, and we're underperforming in some key subject areas. Biology / accounts and mathematics. What's going on? Take a listen to this report from our Vani Katut. Oh boy. Okay, we're still having our internet challenges, it seems. Wow.
Police have reported a 40% decrease in school-related incidents following the deployment of school resource officers. Assistant Commissioner of Police Shazbel Hanna confirmed that the majority of recent incidents have actually involved parents, some of whom have been arrested for disruptions related to their children's academic performance.
All right, we're going to pull up the story. That's not the right one there. We're going to get to that in just a bit. All right. So let me read this from the paper before we get that right story up there. So the Ministry of Education announced that of the 1,684 candidates who sat 5 or more of the BGCSEs, a total of 37.2%, or 627 candidates, obtained a grade of C or higher. 37.2%. All right, our Caitlin Babb writing about it in today's NASA Guardian. A total of 6,103 candidates from 108 centers sat the 2025 exams, an increase from 2024. 11% in 2024 of the candidates received a C or higher. So, I mean, that is improvement, right? 11% last year received a grade of C or higher, which is pretty bad. But this year... 37.2%. So that is good.
Improvement. Yeah.
And plus more students sitting it too. But that is an improvement. So that's great stuff, but still pretty low. Of the 1,684 candidates who sat 5 or more BGCSE subjects this year, a total of 970 candidates achieved a minimum D grade in at least 5 subjects, representing 57.6%. All right, so this is what has led to this nonsense about D average. But again, the D on the BGCSE is a passing grade. It is not a fail. But D in most in most exams means you failed. But not for the BGCSE. It is a different scale, and for some reason we continue to have this challenge understanding that. But anyway, so that is generally to be expected that would be the median grade there, right?
And in some subjects, you could only get as high as a C.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of how this is set up.
Right.
And you'd know better than I would.
I would, yes.
Yes, because I did do the BGCSEs because I'm a dinosaur.
I thought you were saying because I took some of those exams, which I did.
The ones that you could only get a C?
And I did get a C.
Well,
for your information.
Well, that was so double meaning there. All right. But in 2024, the ministry reported that 1,009 students, or 17%, achieved a minimum grade of D. So again, it's a lot of percentages there. We're keeping track. Okay, so this year, a total of 375 candidates achieved at least a C in mathematics, English, and a science subject, representing 22.2% of the candidates who sat 5 or more exams. Only 375. Wow. Last year, 431 students achieved a C grade in those subjects, an improvement. It's a lot of up and down here. As we mentioned, this year, the ministry noted biology, bookkeeping, and accounts and mathematics held a cumulative percentage below 50%. Wow. In 2024, biology sat at a cumulative percentage of 50 to 59%. So we got that report ready for you now. Take a listen to this from Vonnie Toot.
Of the 6,103 registered candidates for the 2025 Bahamas General Of the 6,103 registered candidates for the 2025 Bahamas General Certificate of Secondary Education examinations, 1,684 candidates sat 5 or more subjects. Of that number, 627 candidates, or 37%, received a minimum grade of C in at least. Of the 1,684 candidates who sat 5 or more subjects, 970 candidates, or 57%, achieved a minimum grade of D in at least 5 subjects. In 2025, 375 candidates achieved at least a C in mathematics, English, and a science subject. This represents 22.27% of the candidates sitting 5 or more subjects. Director of Education Dominique Russell says students showed exceptional levels of mastery in certain subjects.
Subjects such as art and design, auto mechanics, carpentry and joinery, food and nutrition, geography, literature, and music achieved cumulative performance rates of 90% or higher, reflecting exceptional levels of mastery. English language, chemistry, French, history, physics, religious studies, communication also performed strongly, with cumulative achievement rates ranging from 80 to 89%, several of which, such as electrical installation, physics, religious studies, and graphical communication, registered year-over-year improvements.
Food and nutrition, physics, history, and geography saw the highest rate of increase in the last 10 years, according to Russell. However, she noted a decline in students' performance in the mathematics BGCSE.
Mathematics in particular, which is foundational to both academic progression and workforce readiness, has seen a decline. Taken together, the data suggests that while the BGCSE continues to fulfill its mandate of broad accessibility and achievement, differentiated subject outcomes highlight the need for ongoing curricular instructional support and performance monitoring.
She also provided a comparative analysis of male to female performance this year.
Upper performance bands, A to D, both male and female candidates demonstrated improvements at grade B. Notably, male candidates registered a slight increase again this year, I think, at grade A, while female candidates experienced a marginal decrease, suggesting a narrowing of the gender gap at the highest level of achievement.
Minister of Education Gladys Hannah Martin says following the learning loss experienced during the 2 years that students were not in physical classrooms due to the COVID-19 pandemic, officials are confident they are on the right track, though she admitted they are not where they would like to be.
So we are confident we are on the right track, and it may take a while to see what we'd like to see ultimately, but we believe we're seeing some light, great encouragement. I want to thank Examinations Division, ADE, and her entire team who are here. Could y'all please stand, ladies? Please give these people a round of applause. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of our educators throughout the length and breadth of this country who are working very hard.
6,103 candidates from 108 centers were registered to sit the BGCSEs this year. 41 were public schools, while 67 centers were independent or private schools. The number of candidates represents an increase of 2.85% when compared to last year.
Okay, so funny to that report there. Let's talk about it. Let's get your reaction to it. It's again, as we said, a lot of up and down, some improvements here, some regressing there.
Yeah.
And typical of, it seems, any regular year. Make of it. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Call us toll free, 242-300-5720.
I just think the collective ambition of us as a people is almost that of a single parent or a singular household. They want to see their child do very well. And this, and if you look at the entire body as how the collective Bahamian people think about it, this is not doing it very well.
I hear you. That's what you think.
I think that's how we think about it.
That's how you think parents, some parents are. Sadly, there's some parents who really, really don't care and are more concerned about
I'm talking about the parents who care.
Okay. And that's the thing. We need to figure out what is the percentage of that, because it's not as high as you can see it, right? You can see the results of that. That's that percentage talking about that's below DI for that. It seems more just concerned about you being productive, you doing something to make us money, you not being a burden to me. And who cares about this stuff? You'll never use physics again after you finish school. Sadly, I believe that's a whole lot of people.
That's not true.
And it's not true.
Let me debunk that right now.
They clearly don't think you use English. But anyway. But yeah, we've got a problem. And I think once we address that, assuming that people really care, then we'll be halfway on the better road. But that is going to be a challenge.
Education isn't even where we have to start fixing the problem.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So just a couple more stats on this. I know this is a lot, and it's easier to read this than to hear it. But so pick up today's Ask the Guardian so you can read it for yourselves. But the ministry reported that in upper classifications, males increased at A, while female students decreased. However, both boys and girls increased at B and decreased at C and D. Okay. Interesting. And there's a lot of that breakdown between the at the various grade levels.
Right.
And boy. All right, so let's talk about it. We got a challenge again: biology, math, and bookkeeping and accounts. Underperforming in those subjects.
I underperformed in those subjects.
Yeah. I didn't even take one of those.
Well, I didn't do biology.
Right? Yeah, you didn't.
I didn't do bookkeeping and accounting.
I didn't do that.
Everybody has to do math, but
yeah,
that's math. Accounting is a little bit of math, right? A lot of bit of math.
A lot of it.
So,
boy, things haven't changed, Dave.
No, but I got a C in my BGCSE.
For which one?
Math.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. I did well in biology, not well in math. No.
Did you take biology? Oh,
yeah, I did biology.
I forgot you did something different.
Well, GC.
GC.
Yeah. So what did I get in that? A B or a C? One of those. Can't remember. But hey, let's hear from you though. 323-6232, 325-4316. 325-4259, toll free 242-300-5720. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us 422-4796. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
You mentioned about the parks. Now, beaches and parks, they contract persons to maintain the park. People are getting paid to maintain the parks. Now, one park you may wish to look at is in Pride Estate number 1. That's off Tony Garland Highway. The contractor has planted fruit trees, and it's well maintained. In fact, this week it'll be serviced. And the contractor who is in charge of that park is none other than Sparky. He maintains the park well. Pride Estates number 1.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much. We'll send maybe we'll send our photographer to look at a model park. Great information. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Park maintenance and equipment maintenance are two different things. Cutting the grass and then making sure that children don't slide down can openers. That's two different things.
Well, if there's an issue, Terrell Glinton will find it. And so we'll see.
No, I'm just saying, you understand.
I do get that, though, yes.
So somebody else is in charge of making sure the equipment is in fine order.
That's a great point.
Not the Sparkies of the world.
Maybe he's doing it all. I don't know.
I don't think that's how it works.
Let's take another call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning to both of you this morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Yeah, I mean, because you're probably doing poorly because you're at the parks right now. You're not doing too well in school. Probably for some reason you may be daydreaming a whole lot. All kind of problems could be going on in your life. But that doesn't determine when you leave school what you could become. I know of a personal case. Young lady failed. I mean, she just failed. But now she hooked up with someone who has a rental car license, and she now has 2 rental cars. And she's finally driven now that she has been plunged into the world and see how real this place is. Now she's coming to me saying, I need you, because when I first met this girl, I said, all I want you to do for me right now is to learn your time stable. Don't do it yet. Distracted all around. Real home environment, you could name it. So we don't know the reasons. But now she's taken on a drive I wish I had when I was at her age. So, there's hope for persons who are not doing it, because they may wake up. And boy, listen, when they wake up, they may be more stronger than ever, like I'm experiencing right now. Okay, so there's.
It definitely happens. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
I did far better in college than I did in high school.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. But I get his point, and we it is true. We know there's tons of distractions. There's tons going on. But also for some people, it can come too late, the wake up.
Yeah.
And you're going to find yourself in so many areas that could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
But people were telling you that you will have time for the fun, or if it's abuse in the system, in your home environment, that's going to be something that is
all sorts of things.
Can't get over too easily. But
I think
I don't know.
I think I came to realize that the way information was presented in high school, in some cases, it just bored me to pieces.
Yeah.
I just couldn't focus on what it was. Right?
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I didn't do well in physics and chemistry, but now there's so much different. Now there's so much different like channels and stuff like that online that talks about physics and chemistry, and it's presented so differently. You get interested in it, and you could actually understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even history. These little animations and that's so cool. If only they'd done this in high school.
I always loved history, but the way it was presented in high school it bored me to pieces.
Yeah. It's amazing what an animation will do. Let's take this call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight and Chester. Good morning, Bahamas and
Hi.
the world.
Good morning.
Here. Dwight, you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if this the day when Guardian giving out all them free things for the children who are going back to school.
Yes, we're having our back to school jamboree outside.
Maybe half an hour so down there when you all do that. Because most of them politicians don't give away their stuff on the web shop people. So many people still in need, you see, and it's a good thing that you all doing it, and all the sponsors who are doing it. Dwight and Chester, I think from the beginning this week or last week, I think I hear the president of the principals, them union, the teachers, them, was crying out, telling the government that's so wrong what they doing. I think Mr. Murphy was on your show, and he was breaking it down on the news that some official tell him, say, they admit they dropped the ball again, and please have patience with them and wait till September for this stipend or this allowance, $150 or $300 to help with different things to the principal. So today is Friday the 29th. School's supposed to be opening Monday. We need our principal. Poison 2 children going in preschool and who want to pick up uniform and different things. They can't get it right now. Although, yes, we have administrative, when I say administrative, what you call them, secretaries and different people in the office. Certain things you can't go and fool with whilst the principal and the vice principal in there. It's a crying shame. My Prime Minister, Brave Davis, who care about us so much, the Minister of Finance, they ain't work with something yet. I saying all that for you to interject and tell me, no, Papa, they do it. Yeah, last night they say something on the news, and yes, they can get their money, and the teachers are back to school over the weekend. They still fixing up the classrooms and stuff like that. While guys, them painting and doing other things, them on contract. The principals are there. School is going to be open Monday. But you can't tell me that right as a newsman this morning. The principal's saying
Well, school's going to be open. You're right. So I don't know yet. I haven't heard back from the union. I haven't heard anything from education as yet.
Right. Yes, I appreciate you bringing to my attention and reminding me. School will still be open, but that don't make no sense, man. Come on. The principal is the head. He's the head. How could we go with him and for a little bit of change? We could find money to travel and do all kind of foolishness, spend it on our personal, cars, different things. The teachers, them important. The principals important. You can't call down by Simon Wilson and find out if it's something to do with his ministry. Because, it's the third or fourth or fifth time a union said they done sign agreement and the government ain't living up to their obligation. My PLP government all about signing agreements with these unions and they ain't living up to their word. Keep it right. If you find anything, let us know if school opening. When I say opening, if our principals could be there. Because it don't make no sense we sending our children to school if the principals them ain't sorted out yet, man.
I'm going to try to get an update from BEMU, the Educators Managerial Union, to see if anything.
What you saying, Dwight? Send your children to school Monday if the principals they ain't sorted out, or wait till they done sorted this foolishness, so they're lying up and listening.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to. School's going to be open. Don't say Dwight caused me to cut. No. I'm waiting to hear from BEMU, so let's see what they're saying. Let's read these messages before we go to a break. This person says, well, the Guardian needs to start taking pictures of all the potholes then. So they can get like how they're doing with the Park series. Okay. Why?
It's too many potholes.
Don't do it because it's too many of them. Why would the Ministry of Education? Why is the Ministry of Education afraid to break down these exam results with the name of the schools, which did well, and those that didn't do well? Say whether students from private schools are doing better than public schools or vice versa. Just give a complete breakdown on everything. But rather they're quick to show the breakdown between male students and female students. Well, the schools are going to do that on their own.
Information you can get independently?
It's like, why do you want to? I mean, it's not an invalid question, but why do you want to know? I'm just curious. Why do you want to know that? The schools will definitely let you know. The private schools will let you know.
Yeah, of course.
Some of the public schools, they do it every year. They put ads in the paper about who did what. The public schools do that as well. So you will know this is their private business. These are students, right?
I mean, I'm sure some people
schools are doing that.
Want to know what schools they should send.
I mean, you already know.
Kids to.
There's a couple schools that do the same every year. You know which ones, public and private.
Mm-hmm.
You know who they say every year. It hasn't changed in decades. So, anyway, are the teachers qualified to teach? They're saying parents. Huh? Oh, be a full stop there. Sorry. All right. Are the teachers qualified to teach? Your parents and their peers, I think they're trying to say, were great and love their jobs.
Huh? No, I still don't get
what's happening. I'm not sure. I don't know if they mean specifically my parents.
Resend that text message.
Whose parents? Whose parents? Mine? Yeah, okay, sure. And I don't know what's happening. See, this is the same reason why the grades are like this. People, you don't know how to spell and no punctuation marks. No wonder the average is C and D. Anyway. As it relates to the beaches and parks neglect, I am convinced that my people love unkempt environments and neglect. I said that because with local governments, respectively, of course, we won't have this neglect. Well, I don't know about that. Where the children play, Mr. MP, shame and name. Take pictures. If this brings results, I wish we could take pictures of all political activities that relate to tax dollars.
Well, the children certainly cannot play on some of those parks.
I did way better in college than in high school. Yeah, well, it gets realer for you, and often you have to contribute more to your own education, right? If you're in college, and so when it's your money, you more careful.
You also take on something that you're much more interested in. Like you focus a little bit more on something.
Yeah, often. That is true. This person says that too many parks are in shambles. For beaches and parks to be over budget by $7 million. What are we doing?
What are they doing?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I didn't want to read this And I really hate.
You shouldn't read
have
it.
to
Maybe
read
they'll
this.
just stop texting.
But this text is
that
horrible.
doesn't even make sense to
It doesn't
read.
make any sense, and you got it wrong.
Much of it isn't true.
In fact, you need to reverse that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the other way around. But yeah, we can't. Not today. Not today. We're going to spew your hate. Not going to use me to spew your hate, Texter. And I keep telling you, you need to get that checked out. You've got a severe, serious issue.
Yeah. On several fronts.
I don't know if even psychologists can help you. You might need psychiatrists for that problem. Anyway, we got to go.
Lobotomies.
Wow.
For that person.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and we're going to go to news. When we come back, we got a special guest with us. We've got National Security Minister Wayne Monroe. We've got quite a bit to talk with him about. And later, as we said, we're going to get into a different perspective on what the challenges are with the taxi cab sector in the country. A lot to get to on this Friday morning. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us.
It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, wake up.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. Also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Now, day 27, time for your final look at weather for today, brought to you by Sherwin-Williams Paints. We've got another day, another heat advisory in effect for the whole country between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. Heat indices expected to again be in the triple digits today. Also, moisture ahead of a frontal boundary just north of the Bahamas, in conjunction with a weak upper-level disturbance, will spark some shower and thunderstorm activity, mainly across the northern and northwest Bahamas into tonight, and weak ridging will dominate weather elsewhere. Rain chances will remain elevated into the weekend, especially across the northern and northwest Bahamas, as that front meanders just north of the area. Meanwhile, additional troughing with increased tropical moisture will support showers and thunderstorms into the week coming. So, for today, for most areas, partly sunny, becoming partly cloudy to cloudy this afternoon into tonight for the northwest Bahamas and central and southeastern islands. For the extreme northern islands, partly cloudy to cloudy through tonight. 20 to 30% chance of showers for most areas, but in the extreme northern islands and parts of the northwest Bahamas, by this afternoon, an increase in rain chances, 40 to 60% chance of widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms this afternoon into this evening. High temperatures today around 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius, but the heat index will make it feel like it's 106 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. For your weekend, we're looking at for Saturday, mostly cloudy conditions for the northern and northwest Bahamas, variably cloudy during the day, partly cloudy at night for the central and southeastern islands. By Sunday, pretty much the same, and Monday, a mix of sun and clouds holding for you for Tuesday. In the tropics, we've got a tropical wave forecast to emerge off the coast of Africa on Sunday. Environmental conditions could support some slow development of the system while it moves westward to west-northwestward at about 15 to 20 knots, 20 miles per hour rather, across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic next week. Formation chance through 7 days is low at about 20%. That's your Morning Blend weather check brought to you by Sherwin-Williams. Ready to refresh your space? Well, head to your local Sherwin-Williams for premium paint, pro tips, and everyday deals that make it easy to get started. And it's time for a check of traffic brought to you by RBC. With RBC, your ideas happen here. Got a number of Prince Charles Drive seeing some heavy traffic at the major intersections. If you're heading westbound, mainly you'll see that, especially heading into Robinson Road, just west of Soldier. Milo Butler Highway, though, is going to be your number one hotspot this morning. Heavy traffic for you just north of Fire Trail, straight up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway. And Blue Hill Road also seeing some slow-moving traffic once you get north of Soldier Road on the way to the roundabout with Independence Drive back to westbound as well. Over on East Street, slow-moving traffic north of Soldier Road if you're heading northbound. Those are your hot spots. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend traffic alert brought to you by NUA Insurance Agents and Brokers. Whether you prefer a face-to-face chat or handling things online, they've got you covered. Visit nuainsurance.com for an instant motor quote or stop by your nearest branch today.
No one likes a fender bender.
Oh, man.
From a little scratch to a full mashup, NUA Insurance has got you covered with auto insurance tailored to fit your needs and budget. For affordable rates with free on-site accident assistance, visit us online or in branch and just ask us. NUA Insurance. Ask us because we've got you covered.
In the world of business, technology is not a choice, it's a necessity. And for businesses that demand excellence, there's only one choice for unparalleled support and cutting-edge technology. Custom Computers. You have challenges and we have solutions. Computing, networking, storage, and printing for enterprises large and small, aligned with premium brands like HP, Microsoft, Konica Minolta, and more. Get tech done the right way with Custom Computers. Call the Know-How team at 396-1101.
Maybe it's time to explore your options. There's no harm in reviewing your mortgage arrangement and considering a better deal. CIBC Caribbean can help you narrow your search and decide. Switch your mortgage to CIBC Caribbean and enjoy a special interest towards your switching cost. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/inspired home for more information. Conditions apply.
When it comes to hearts at Cleveland Clinic, you can't miss a beat. You seek the best care possible, work with the brightest minds, and leave no stone unturned to get to the heart of the matter. Because understanding is always the first step to overcoming. For every heart in the world, see how we're advancing the future of heart care at Cleveland Clinic today.
As a healthcare professional, you dedicate your life to caring for others. But even with the best care, legal challenges can arise. Protect your practice and your peace of mind with medical malpractice insurance from Star General. At Star General, we've partnered with Lloyd's of London to bring you comprehensive professional liability insurance designed specifically for those consulting or practicing privately. Visit our website today so you can focus on what you do best, caring for your patients, while we take care of the rest. Star General Insurance.
Back to school just got easier at Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store on Matt Street. We've got school shirts with official embroidered logos for R.M. Bailey, S.C. McPherson, A.F. Adderley, Kingsway, Queens College, L.W. Young, and many more. From shirts and blouses to jumpers, skirts, shorts, and pants, we've got yours for almost every school in the Bahamas. So, skip the stress and shop at Carey's today. Call us at 393-0758 or 817-0758. That's Carey's Fabric and Uniform Store, where back to school shopping is a breeze.
Reach the houses, whip, wop, whip, wop, whip, wop. Reach the houses, whip, wop, whip, wop, whip, wop. Reach the houses, whip, wop, whip, wop, whip, wop.
We're back with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards on this Friday morning. And this morning we are very pleased to have with us our special guest, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe. Good morning, sir. Always a pleasure to have you with us. I think you've become the cabinet minister most frequently on the show. We're very, very pleased about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. You always say that, but I keep telling you, when you enter public service, speaking to the public is a part of the job.
I hope your colleagues are listening. Okay, so crime's been in the news quite a bit this week. Early in the week, the F&M introduced their 10-point crime plan, and immediately you and even the Prime Minister, everybody said, hey, well, this sounds very familiar to us. Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing, right, for the members of the public. We're all on the same page. Is that what that means?
It means looking at the 10 items. All of them are currently encapsulated in the 5-pillar plan. But it's not really a plan. It is pick 10 things. A plan must be systematic across everything. So the 5 pillars prevent the police effectively to get them. Once you police, you got to prosecute them. Then, of course, you have to punish them, which means the punishment has to be appropriate. Then you have to rehabilitate them as they re-enter. The F&M has not done that in what they have set out. They steadfastly talked about we had no plan. Although at the Public Policy Institute that Chivago Lang runs at UB, I presented it in, I think, about 2022, and we've been repeating it. So what they do is it's like bullet points which aren't complete. And you may say that it is encouraging, but I'll give you an example about the difference between us. We all agree that it would be a good thing for the Defense Force to have over-the-horizon drones, right? Mm. To operate so that you send out for reconnoitering purposes. And the F&M's idea was to buy over-the-horizon drones that require grass manicured runways, that have to be irrigated, that cost $300,000 to $400,000 each to put down, that you have to put down in every island you're going to, instead of getting vertical liftoff and takeoff over the horizon drones that you can launch off your ships and recover to your ships. And they paid collectively, that was the biggest part of it, $17 million, right? So
that was an accident, or were you saying that's intentional?
Well, it must be.
They just didn't know any better.
No, it must be intentional. So you can both have the same idea, but how you execute it is the issue. Mm-hmm. So, we went through it because we really believe in consultation. So if you say something and it makes sense, we're not going to say we're not going to do it simply because you're not us. So, for instance, they say launch a major recruitment and retention drive. The police don't really have a retention issue. The Defense Force has a retention issue. The police doesn't have a retention issue. The police have and the Defense Force have a high percentage of people injured who are on the sedentary duty, which isn't sustainable, but they don't really have a retention issue. Mm. So one has to question where they're getting their primary facts on which they base their plan. Mm. We've been gang crime task force. They say it was a PR show, so you wouldn't be invited to a PR show again since you wouldn't do that. The Commissioner of Police makes herself and a team available for them. They came up right after I had a meeting with them. The Commander of Defense Force does the same, and the Commissioner of Corrections. We are very inviting. So where you get your primary information is what is troubling.
I'm just curious, what's going on with the Defense Force? Why do they have a retention issue?
It's persons, deaths, and that's something that's being examined. The minister has to approve you leaving. Mm-hmm. So you might want to leave, but if I say you can't leave, you can't leave. But it appears it's often young people who come in, and they cycle out, some of them after a year or 2 years, and then you have one or two who go after like 10 years because they sign contracts either every 3 years or 5 years. Mm-hmm. So if anybody has a retention issue, one might say it might be the Defense Force. And we're having a look at whether that was of the detachments to the outposts, or at one point they used to have 90-day patrols, 3-month patrols.
Wow.
That wasn't sustainable because none of the vessels have an endurance of 90 days. Mm-hmm. The biggest one has an endurance of 30 days. Mm-hmm. And so the current command is looking at matters like that to address that. But there has not been presented any major retention issue for the police. Mm-hmm. And so one wonders what that is about. And then they say expand frontline policing in high crime areas. And the police are doing that now, which is why people in the suburbs complain that they don't see the police because all of the cars seem to be concentrated elsewhere than in their neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And more vehicles, okay, that's fine. We had to buy 100 because you didn't really leave any, but you want to buy more. Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. If you and target guns and drugs, that's insulting to the police because that's what they do. Mm-hmm. And the results have shown increase in drug seizures, increase in guns. So one wonders what the meat on this bone will be, because we know the meat on the bone of over-the-horizon drones is to buy drones that need manicure. So you have to be concerned when that's the history of the person. And then they say restore trust through transparency, strengthen the investigations commission. I suspect they mean the Independent Commission of Investigations that we enacted that they said shouldn't have been really, that it should really be commissions of inquiries. So it is useful if they now concede that that was a good step. And we would hope that that means they wouldn't stop, review, and cancel that, mm-hmm. which is what happens. And they say, introduce independent police appointments for senior leadership. Well, everyone accepts the ranks of inspector to assistant commissioner of police are decided by the Police Service Commission currently. There are only 2 offices that are decided and appointed by the Prime Minister after consulting the leader of the opposition. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know what that looks like. If they mean introduce something to appoint the commissioner and the deputy commissioner, they ought to say that. And then they ought to step forward and say, we've looked at other comparable countries and here is what they do. Mm-hmm. Raise higher standards, publish reports, the police do that, publish quarterly updates, the police do that, ensure no one escapes accountability. That's an impossibility. Mm-hmm. There is no perfect system. Mm-hmm. What you do, which is troubling with this, and which is why I say it's not a plan. The police approach it sensibly, and the Defense Force and corrections. You have to try and do your best to only recruit good people. Mm-hmm. And so you have to concentrate on weeding out improper people at recruitment.
They're off base, or you're already doing the things they're talking about. All right, so for those things that you are doing, and members of the public who say, well, you're doing these, but we still feel unsafe. Just a couple of days ago, 4 people were shot in one day in 3 separate incidents, and we have weekends where a lot of that kind of stuff is happening, that what you're doing is not enough. What do you say to members of the public who feel that way?
You have to reflect on why it is you feel unsafe. I was told that people feel unsafe, they don't go out at night. And then we got accosted with the police are closing clubs at 12 o'clock. We need them to stay open to 2, 4 o'clock. And I say, well, that can't make sense because people are afraid of going out. So why would you need to stay out till 2, 4 o'clock? So persons have to determine whether they feel unsafe, whether or not it's a reasonable apprehension or not. And that's basically how you judge and weigh things. So, for instance, the only aspect of crime that's increasing is car thefts. And the aspect of car thefts that are increasing are cars being stolen from outside of your house. So people not carjacking you. You go to sleep, you note, your cube, your little Japanese car is outside, you wake up, it's gone. And that's a crime. It's an invasive crime that makes people feel uneasy because somebody has invaded their space. But in terms of does it expose you to violence, the answer is very likely no. And so what you are afraid of is the issue. And while that is increasing in place, measures to address that. So their recovery rate, recovery rate is 50 plus. So you have some people who have determined
percentage.
Yeah, and that's in a fairly quick time, turnaround time. So there are some among us who have determined, for many reasons, that they are not going to obey the laws. And what we have to concern ourselves with, and this is what was disappointing in their 10-point plan, by the time you come to need the police, the courts, and the rest of that, there has been a failure. We keep talking about these rates. People talk about the murder rates. What is more concerning about the murder rates is you look at the profile of the persons committing them. When you now have 15-year-old boys, I did a case back when I was a young lawyer of a government high student who killed somebody with a cutlass. They got in a fight, he had a cutlass, he swung it. That's one thing. You now have guns gunning people down. And what you have to look at when you look at the research is that you can identify somebody who was at risk. And you better start to do that from 8 years old to about 10 years old. And which is why we introduced diversionary programs in the primary school, HYPE, for the first time. Because once that person goes on that road, it may be difficult to get them off. And the important reason why there has to be consistency in approach so that you can't have a ramping down of urban renewal because that wasn't our thing and that is because you might look at the end user, the 15-year-old with the gun, the 16-year-old with the gun, the 17-year-old with the gun, but he didn't materialize right away with that mindset. It took him 4 to 5 years to travel to that point. And so this focus on him at this point totally does not look at how we got to that point. And if you don't own that and do that, then you're not going to own that and put in place things to break that cycle.
Tell us more about that. How widespread is that program? Because we're seeing it where families, they're losing all their sons, all the cousins, the father, the uncle, everyone's been a victim of violence. Obviously, a pattern has been established. We can stop this from taking everybody, right?
Yeah.
Are we doing that?
Yeah, and we started the HYPE program, which is helping young people excel. It's a coordinated program between the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Social Services, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of National Security. And that's in the primary school. What is very good now is you have, for instance, the Anglican Diocese nomination. There's a mentorship program for primary school children as well. So the church is stepping up and realizing what their mission has always been and reaffirming it, which is to basically intervene in the lives of people. And so when we say it's an all of society, all of government, all of society, we're saying the government isn't going to do it all. And so we are encouraged that other people are stepping up. But that's the sort of thing that you have to spell out. That's the detail that you need, not that we're going to prevent this. It's here is how we're going to do it. We're going to engage with trying to identify young people at risk and address them in terms of, in the high program, literacy, numeracy, additional work. Because if you perform poorly academically, that's a marker for you being at risk. We're going to give you the Aspire curriculum from the Anti-Drug Council that deals with anger management, how you actually relate one to another. We're going to teach you a little discipline by the Defense Force, the Police Force, and Corrections, depending on which school you're at. We're expanding the range of program, the cadet program, to touch more young people. There's something as simple as the Let's Swim program that Andy and Nancy Knowles do in the primary school. It may be, on the face of it, teaching swimming, but when I experienced it, they used the pool at UB. That's the most orderly young little children coming off a bus I ever saw. And they had a regimented approach. Come, put your stuff down, take your thing off, and they know exactly where to go. And discipline is sorely lacking, and if you impose it, it has good results. And then I discovered they sing, they do nursery verses and that on the bus, on the ride to the pool. All of that is feeding into the moral fiber of the young person. And so when you don't realize that that's all a part of preventing this young man being the 15-year-old with the gun, you don't get it. From my 30 years in practice, the one thing it shows me, imagine, we identify these fellas as gang leaders, right? Could you imagine if somebody had intervened in the life of that one person on their trip to that place so that they did not arrive at that place? Because generally they're very intelligent young men. And what a lot of people are disturbed of, they don't appear to be rabid dogs. They appear to be very nice fellas, you know, apart from that thing that they do. So imagine if you, from what they publish, that context.
So how widespread is hype right now? I mean, is it in every school?
No. As far as I'm aware, it was to be in 4 schools in New Providence, 2 schools in Grand Bahama. It's still, I don't like to call it a pilot, because a pilot suggests that you're not going to continue. I like to call it in phase 1. So, for instance, I brag about the breakfasting I started at Uriah McPhee. That was the pilot. When the government launched it now in the other school, that was phase 1. And now we're on to phase 2. So everything you must think about in phases.
So what's next? What's the next phase, and when can we see a more widespread rollout of this?
We're still working through the mechanics of it. The results are encouraging, and we're still tracking the students when they now go on to the junior high school, I think is what they call grade 7 now. I get confused about whether it's middle school or...
I think it is junior, Before you get... So what about the ones who slip through the cracks? They're a little older than 8 to 10. They are in junior, maybe entering senior high, and they are in a critical place. They've seen all this murder around them, or people in gangs, they're under pressure. What are we doing for them?
You have engagement at the level with social services and the Ministry of Youth and Sports. What we are looking at now, and it's something that we're pursuing, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of National Security, social services, we're looking at, we have a committee that's looking at establishing a boarding school, a therapeutic boarding school, because we understand a lot of these young people, their environment. It's no point addressing issues created by your environment, because unfortunately, you can't compel some parents to do some things. And unfortunately, in some cases, the parent is the problem. The surrounding is the problem. We're working on developing that concept. The Minister of Education, who is the deputy chair of the Anti-Gang and Crime Task Force, has decided this is urgent. She wants to move it along faster. So we're looking at one of the schools, the diversionary schools, to see if we can put housing there. Because it's pointless if the problem is the environment, that you don't take the child out of that environment and deal with him holistically. My son went to boarding school because he was good at soccer. The BFA suggested I send him to a school with a soccer academy, which I did. And the whole thing was, that's your thing. We'll put you in an environment that focuses on fixing that part of your life, your soccer game. Well, it's the same concept with this school. You have people who have issues that are surrounded, that need to be addressed, and you address it therapeutically so that it's not in and out. The minister says children fall off the cracks. When these young boys do things, you look around and say, hey, he wasn't in school at all from 2019, 2020. How did that happen?
Yeah. How quickly can we see that up and running? Because we desperately need it.
We've done visits. There's been a committee that's done visits to some facilities in the U.S. We're at the point of we identified a location, and now we're at the point of, the Bible say money answereth all things. We're at that point and looking at engagement with the owner. It's actually a school that was built. The fella just built the school. And it's a matter of, if we can get that, then we can get it started in its full sense. But as I say, the Minister of Education wants to get something, as it were, temporary started as soon as possible.
Yeah. Do we understand how widespread the problem is with these at-risk, especially young men? I assume, let's say you got 6,000 people graduating. Maybe some of them didn't even graduate. But how widespread is it? And you mentioned the anti-gang unit. Are they in schools looking at how gangs have formed in schools and maybe are problematic in schools?
No, what I mentioned was there's an anti-gang and crime task force.
Task force, yeah.
That's at the high ministerial level, because the Prime Minister took the position when we say that it's an all-of-government exercise. It looks at everything. So I'm the Minister of Education, and I share it. We have the Minister of Youth and Sports, the Minister Alcides, because that's money has to be around the table. We have the Minister of Social Service. We have the Minister of Works, because when you do things, that is important. Works is on it. Health is on it as well, because crime is a public health issue, and that's recognized now.
Right.
And we just look at things at a high level and look at the programs. So, for instance, you look at different things like the Clear Hold Build initiative. That would be something that the task force would be looking at and monitoring. The issues around the correctional facility. So that's a task force at a very high level to ensure that we're not working in silos. That if we need something from environmental Ministry of Works, that they're there. If we say, look, we need this done, they're there. If we need something from health, they're there. And that's the makeup of that. But the school resource officers have been redeployed to the high schools, and they are now asking for them to be deployed in the primary schools. You have to identify police officers with the right temperament, and then they have to be trained.
Right.
Because it's a special thing to interact with children. It's policing, but it's also mentoring. It's also being an outlet for a child who may not have any other outlet, and we have to be very careful about the officers who you put in that circumstance. Some officers aren't. They're not built for that type of work.
Wow. We're talking with Minister of National Security, Wayne Monroe. Okay, you mentioned discipline earlier, and this is a major pet peeve for me. I talk about it almost every week. The chaos, it seems, on the streets of New Providence, especially. People are doing whatever they want. Overtaking, going in the wrong direction, driving on sidewalks, no care for any of the traffic signs, traffic lights, anything. What are we doing about this? People clearly believe they can get away with anything they want if they have to go somewhere, or even if it's not important. They just don't want to obey the traffic law.
A troubling one. And for my part, we've deployed a lot of technology recently, hundreds and hundreds of cameras that have in equipped with facial recognition and license plate reading technology.
You said this the last time you were here.
Yeah.
This is in effect now? You're using this?
No, we have these cameras.
You have it. Okay.
Now, to use it for traffic, to call it traffic management, traffic enforcement, I've asked the legal section of the ministry to have a look at how that would actually work from this perspective. You have a car. We take a picture of your license plate. You say, okay, that's fine. I wasn't. You have to show that I was driving. You see, I've been in the game, right?
But you said the cameras have the facial recognition, though.
But how you would then have to see that you can zoom and see through a windscreen, and assuming the person doesn't have their visor down and that sort of thing.
Right.
But clearly they do it in the UK. Just to have a look at how do they do it in the UK in terms of what changes are necessary in our laws. It may be that the offense is ascribed to the vehicle. If I were not the minister, I would have been doing this stuff myself. But with the spread of stuff, you enact policy. So once they have a look and see this is the regime that you will need to do enforcement in that fashion, then you're able to say, let's change the law to that effect. And then the provider one of our providers said they can do drop things. So if you have a corner where people duck through and ride in the road, they can set a camera up there. Someone sits down. You like doing Oprah Winfrey. You get a ticket. You get a ticket. You get a ticket. Everyone gets a ticket who does foolishness. And then it'll become known. So that is a personalized project I'm driving because it annoys me.
It's driving all of us crazy. Yeah. And there are people like myself who believe that this is the reason why we're seeing lawlessness in other realms, because people think I can do this. I've been getting away with this. Why not try something else?
What?
Do you see that as this low hanging in other parts of our society?
The fellow who ran up and shoot somebody 15, 16 times in his head really wasn't motivated by being able to.
I bet you he's run many lights, though. I bet you he has.
I got a text about a concern about these young guys. A lot of them seem to have bikes everywhere, and it seems to make it easier for some of them to commit certain crimes. Is that being looked at in any kind of way? And they're usually unlicensed, obviously.
Yeah, I raise that with the commissioner every time I meet with them. And in fact, I have my head of agency meetings today with all the heads of the agencies individually. But I was surprised to learn that the police have about a container full of bikes
that they've confiscated.
Now, the issue is, and what we've started to look at is this. If you purchase a vehicle, you don't drive it off the car lot unlicensed, right? But by all accounts, you can go to a Shirley Enterprise, buy a motorbike, and just drive it out the shop unlicensed. And the question that we are looking at now is, why should that not be a requirement, that they cannot release the motorbike, which is going to go on the road until it's licensed.
Yeah.
Now, some of them you see on the road can't be licensed for the road because they don't have lights. I mean, back in the day, your bicycle had to have a light. But you have motorbikes on the road now without lights. Which are only designed to be driven off-road.
Right.
And the issue that's a vexing one is whether you completely outlaw off-road motorbikes. Is that something that Bahamian people actually do, drive off-road? So, but that's a troubling one. It's annoying, and it's dangerous.
Any timeline as to when we might some movement with this, with the traffic, the cameras, and with the bikes determining what we're going to do with the bikes? Any timeline on this at all?
I seek an update monthly on it because that's how you do it. I would expect to get something back shortly on what is the legal framework you need to press to have traffic enforcement by cameras. Because in some of our neighboring countries, they have it, but everyone doesn't operate like the Bahamas. So, for instance, you have to have clear glass. You can't have anything over your plate, things of that nature. That's a level of enforcement. And so that is a work in progress. The most frustrating thing for me sitting in this chair is when in my firm, I give you an example, the AC in my building on my floor was down for 5 months, right? In private,
in the ministry.
yeah, it's an NIB building,
Yeah.
and they just took 5 months to get apart because they have to go through procurement. They have to do this, they have to do that, they have to do the next. The procurement thing takes 2-3 months, all the rest of that stuff, right? In private practice, my AC goes down, I call who I want to call, and it's fixed the next day. And so that is a bit of the challenge that we have. But now that we have the technology, there would be a revenue perspective to push it. Once we align the law, that's what we're looking at as well.
We talked about crime and fear of crime. Like, reported crime versus maybe crime that's not, the people just give up, I don't know, stealing the gas tank, and they're just like, whatever, the police are not going to come and deal with this quickly, or has there been like surveys done to understand how Bahamians deal with certain things where they just don't call the police or don't even bother to do it?
The police research department does look at that. And clearly some crimes are more likely to be reported than others. So if you need a report, for instance, for insurance purposes, then you're going to report the crime. Something like a murder is fairly obvious. Sexual offenses, not so much, because they're usually committed in private, and it takes the person to go and report them. What you talk about, petty thief, shop breaking, house breaking, those are things that require you to go, and only if there's a purpose.
Right.
So, for instance, my car was broken into, and the only reason I reported it is because my passport was stolen. If I didn't need the police report for my passport and my visa, I wouldn't have reported it, because I would say the rest of that. And that was when I was in private practice. But they come and they dust your car and they get a print. And in one case, they say, oh, why is this person touching this car? So that is a reason people, when they think it's not worth it, should still report it. Because yes, the police may take a time to come because there's only so many fingerprint persons to dust for prints, but you should still report it. Because it may be somebody who you then can track to what are your prints doing inside of this person's house.
Getting some interesting text messages from our listeners. This person's asking if the proceeds from crime fund is still in existence, and how much is currently in it, and what's it being used for, proceeds from crime.
There's no proceeds of crime fund. There's a confiscated asset fund. And you have property that's in it that has to be sold. There is the account of it is kept by the Ministry of Finance. The persons on it are the Minister of Finance, myself, and the Financial Secretary. So that'll be something I can make an inquiry as to what is in it.
Okay. People talk about it all the time on the show. The guns. What are we doing? Is there anything that is being done in determining how there are so many guns in the country? What do we know? What's happening?
Well, we formed the anti-gang and gun task force in the unit in the police force, and the ATF is in it, Homeland Security is in it. They do track where these guns come from. I think 98% of them come from the U.S. There are many ways to get a firearm into this country that is spread over more than 180,000 square miles of water. Everything is imported in cargo, and you've had a couple of significant busts in cargo. And so, for instance, the new air freight terminal that everyone has this thing about has pushed the seizure of marijuana up, because now everything is in a controlled space. And the U.S. has recently agreed to donate scanners So little things that improve the way that you do business does it, but it still has to be intelligence driven without wanting to give anyone who may be minded to do it some sort of idea. People, so will we really have the time to scan every container of freight coming into the Bahamas? And if you're able to do that, how would that affect delivery of these goods to the point? The key to it is that when these guns come here, people know who has a gun. It's in your interest to report it. Because if your young son comes into and gets into foolishness, yes, he may be killed. But as the Prime Minister explained, remember the grandmother and the child who was shot because they were in the young man's car and they were coming for the young man, but he wasn't in the car. This is very personal, so that if you're aware, you really should be reporting it. What was troubling from the F&M crime plan is they don't think that the Firearms Act covers ghost guns, but it does. A ghost gun is just a gun that doesn't have a serial number or way of tracing it. It covers that. It covers 3D printing guns. They don't think it covers assault weapons, but assault weapons are prohibited weapons currently in the Firearms Act. It's a weapon. By continuous pressure on the trigger, it will discharge the projectiles until it is empty. So all these things are already covered.
You mentioned marijuana with the air freight terminal, but guns as well. You're seeing an increase in
seizures
of guns through the air freight.
I'll have to check that. I know marijuana was up to the air freight terminal.
You always hear about pleasure yachts and people talking about those. What's being done in that area?
There's no real intelligence that that's a big area. Most of the yachts coming in there have firearms on them for protection purposes. They declare their weapons to customs, and then they cannot leave the vessel, or that's an offense, and then they take them back home. It is when there was a case that was reported where a Glock was recovered on the street in the Bahamas within, I think it was 48 hours after it was sold in the U.S. That did not come over on a pleasure craft. So persons need to just focus on the fact that there are, unfortunately, in cargo, a lot of opportunities. That the key is if it's comes around you to report it, and the police continue to work with our international partners in the U.S. and elsewhere to seek to get intelligence on what may be coming our way. And you've had a number of intelligence-led interdiction of firearms.
You mentioned drones, and the drones that the previous administration bought that have all those special requirements. So are any of them being used at all? Can you use any of them?
The submersible unmanned ones, once we got the supplier to give us cable so that they can go down to the full depth they're rated for free, because they only had like 65 feet, or it was 100 yards of cable, and the thing can go down in Dane's Blue Hole and found the body of the missing person on the shelf. So those are in use. The little smaller drones are in use. They eventually replace one set of them with DJI drones from China. The long-range ones are here, but you have to plant those landing strip with special grass, put in irrigation. There's one at HMBS Coral Harbor. There isn't any anywhere else. So that's the challenge with operating those. They cannot be flown off the vessels. They cannot be recovered and land on the vessels either.
Well, just a few weeks back, there was a high-speed chase. The police and some suspects, and it's reported that the police said the suspects were shooting at them, and police were firing back. And these were through neighborhoods as well. Is this something we need to be looking at? Should this be happening in New Providence? High-speed chases and shootouts. I mean, yes, if they're shooting at the police, but it's just so risky. Do we not change our policy on this? Can we not?
You mean the police speaking about returning fire?
Returning fire and engaging in a high-speed chase. We talked about drones. Can they not be utilized to instead of pursuing a vehicle at high speed, the streets of New Providence?
there's an ability for the drones to fly. You do not, unless you know when something is going to happen, where it's going to happen, that's going to be an issue. I'm 57. When I was born and came here to New Providence at I think 4 or 5, policemen didn't really carry guns. Their old pants had the little thing where they put their billy or truncheon. We've gone past that in the mentality and makeup of our people. The policy to say you do not chase somebody who you believe has committed an armed robbery with a gun, armed with a gun, has attempted to kill somebody, would be the subject of harsh criticism, I have no doubt, from the Bahamian people. The law as it stands permits you to kill an escaping felon if you can't otherwise catch him once he has committed a felony. And attempted murder and armed robbery are felonies. So that is really an issue. The issue of firing from a police car, having been on ranges here and abroad, is whether that is something that's safe to do in terms of your firearm not being dislodged from your hand during the mechanism of a chase, and your ability to say that you're directing your fire where it's meant to go and not endangering the public. But that they have training on.
I just wanted are police officers paid enough right now, in your opinion? I know a lot of them moonlight as security guards to make ends meet and other things.
We're doing a review of pay. What is said is that public servants, they are some of the better paid public servants. And you ignite all of the arguments about that question. Certainly Defense Force has an issue of are they paid properly and appropriately compared to police officers, and the same thing with the corrections officers. Thing question. If they could form trade unions, they would always be pushing for more money because that's what trade unions do. They cannot form trade unions. They have a staff association, the police and the corrections. The Defense Force doesn't at all. But I think they say I'm the first minister engaged in them regularly in their message, junior officers, senior officers, warrant officers, junior and senior officers. But everyone is constantly pushing for better terms of service, and that's what trade unions do, which is why trade unions are never satisfied.
We are running out of time, but gotta get in a little tiny bit of politics here. The FNM announcing candidates last night. They have announced somebody who we assume you'll be facing off against if you decide to, and you think you've said that you are going to be running again.
You know, when I see someone send me something, Monroe may not be running in Freetown. God willing, the PLP's candidates committee willing, Monroe will be running in Freetown. What I found disturbing about the little jostle amongst the FNM, and I don't get in other people's business, right? But I'm about to get in a little bit right now, right? Is I know Andrew Blue Johnson, right? And there's a piece was put out on him. And all right, you could say what you want. And then the part that troubled me in the piece is they said his parents were stalwart councillors of the PLP, which was disturbing for me because I always thought Barbara J and his wife were meritorious councillors of the FNM. That was the word all around Camp Road. So
you can't trust that source.
What happens is this, right? Clearly, it's a hit job by somebody from the FNM. And that's fine, but why characterize the young man's parents as something they're not? Because, we take our politics very personally. So just leave everything else. No need to lie about Barbara J and his wife's affiliation. Just don't do that. But what is troubling for me about that is that shows how politics is happening. Now,
well, you won't be running against him in any event, so it's Lincoln deal, it seems. Anything to say?
Well, I campaign strictly on policies and principles. I have done a little background search on what his pronouncements are. I haven't found anything of substance yet, either to praise or to attack. perhaps over the coming months, there'll be things of substance falling from him that we can analyze. But at the moment, I haven't seen anything in the public domain from a policy perspective, because generally talking about things isn't the same thing as policy assertions.
Okay. All right. So you didn't give us any deadlines or timelines for some of these things, but we hope that by the next time we see you.
And the reason I don't do that, Dwight, is because I have a public reputation. If I tell you something has to happen by a time, I gotta whip some people to get it done.
Well, we hope the next time we have in the studio, we have moved further along with some of these things.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much, Wayne Monroe, for being here this morning. Really appreciate it. All right, we're going to break for news. When we come back, we're getting into another big issue, taxis. Ed Fields is going to be here, and he's got some things to say. You don't want to miss it coming up in business. Stay tuned.
So I check my DM, told me she available from AM to PM. I had to go buy protection, can't make her my BM. She got them big melons and I wanted to see them.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on August 29th, final Friday in August 2025. Welcome back to Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. And if you've been listening to the show over the past few days, we've had everybody. We've had the Bahamas Livery Drivers Union, and just a couple of days ago, we had the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union. You've heard both sides of the issues they're facing, and the Taxi Cab Union threatening that they may take some serious action if things aren't addressed that they feel are impeding on their sector and encroaching on their business. But this morning we're going to get a different perspective on what's really happening here from somebody who is quite qualified to speak on this. He's the former Senior Vice President of Public Affairs at Atlantis, former Board of Directors at the Airport Authority at ANAD, and former Director of Business Development at Nassau Cruise Port, former Managing Director of the Downtown Nassau Partnership, a very long resume there. Ed Fields is joining us now. Good morning, sir. Great to see you.
Morning, my friends. Y'all all right?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Doing well. The taxis.
I'm in a semi-retired mode, so this is
of the casual look. It's really good. But the taxis said they're prepared to block up the bridge and the airport. They're angry. The livery drivers are taking their business, and they're fed up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Boy, where to begin? Mm-hmm. Well, I've been dealing with taxis since 1998. I've never driven a taxi. I don't have a plate, but I've been engaged with the industry since 1998. That's what, over 20 something years, right? Almost 30 years.
Almost 30.
Yeah. I try to paint a real simple picture because I think if you do, then people will grasp it to some extent more. And so you have a situation where you have, in any environment, systems, right? And you have systems and you have solutions, okay? Mm-hmm. And in this case, the system is, essentially the public transportation system and the way that it's processed, okay? And then you have, the issue of supply and demand, okay? So these are the two things that drive things, okay? So the analogy would be, let's say you look at your leg as a system, okay? And let's say in order to walk, you need your ankle and you need your knee, okay? And let's say you break your ankle, okay? You're going to result in a lot of pain and you're not going to be able to walk properly. But if you decide to go to a physical therapist to get a massage on your knee, you can massage that knee as much as you want. The ankle is not only going to heal, the ankle will heal over time, but it will heal in a mutated state. And you will always limp, okay? And that's what we have. We have a system that has been not treated properly, not where you need to direct the treatment has not been okay. You got your knee feels great, but you're limping, okay? And when it comes time, because you allowed the injury to happen so long, Chester knows this stuff, he's Mr. CrossFit or whatever. You allow the injury to mutate for so long that you can't ever really repair it. To repair it is a dramatic thing. You almost you have to re-break it. Okay, I mean, to get it done. And then there's the issue of supply and demand. And these are two very simple concepts, right? So supply and demand is basically, if you got a guy, you got a population that needs water, and you must supply for 10 people to have water, at a reasonable rate per day, and be hydrated and healthy, then fine. But if you do one of two things, A, reduce the supply of water, or B, increase the population who needs the water, you're going to have problems, most likely violence, because people will fight to survive, okay? So I hope I use those two examples to kind of paint a picture of what, these things are about and why they occur, okay? So in my case, I was charged over those many 30 years with trying to resolve those particular locations of the taxi dilemma, so to speak. And essentially, I was a physical therapist massaging the knee. Okay, so as much as we tried to, we had some successes to make the knee feel better and to get you along the way. The reality was, I was not the orthopedic surgeon. The orthopedic surgeon in this case was, and always will be the government of the Bahamas. Okay, they're the ones who dictate policy, who manage the enforcement of rules, et cetera, et cetera. And let me just say, very candidly, in that aspect, from the time that I've been involved, and I assume prior to my being involved, the orthopedic surgeon was not around. Wow. If they were, what they did is twisted the ankle more. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to use this analogy because I think people will get it. Okay, and if you twist a sprained or broken ankle more, it's only going to get worse.
Why was the surgeon doing that, though?
Well, that's an interesting notice. So I could use another example here about from in a country, economics drives everything, and
especially this one.
Well, yeah. So when you lack the capacity, the vision, the ability to be innovative in terms of economic growth, development, expansion, etc., you then have to look at simple ways of band-aid solutions. In our country, Forbes burned his rumor. George Smith told me this. George Smith told me that, and he told me this in public on the air, that Forbes Brennan once told Sir Lyndon Pinley that he should never lose a government. And the reason being is he was the number one employment agency in the country. Okay, he had the control of employment. Okay, we have evolved to a country of licenses, permits, contracts, and plates. Okay, if you take those four things, and there's maybe one or two more, and you look at how we manage our economy, our expansion, our economic opportunity for people is highly based in those
fees on people.
Giving things to people to be able to support themselves by the stuff you can hand out. Okay, you can hand out plates. That gives a guy a job. You can give contracts to do a sidewalk. That's a guy a job. You can give a guy a contract to paint a curb that's going to be dirty the next day. A job. You can give a guy a contract to shovel sand by Junkanoo Beach while he just puts the sand back on the beach to come back the next day. That's a job. But it's not economic policy. It's just it's a way of sating that particular guy's need, okay? So when you ask why do you do it, it's because they have to sate the economic needs of people, okay? And when you know, the analogy of the broken ankle is, and twisting it is, how do you manage that scenario? How do you manage that, in this instance, the taxi scenario? And how that's been managed politically from, I can remember, and this has nothing to do with party, this is the same old thing, the same old trend, no matter what party it is these plates, okay? Now, over the last couple of weeks, fight between the liveries and the taxi drivers. And you've heard where they've targeted their anger, both at each other and then at hotels and at the airport and other facilities, okay? And all of that is wrong, okay? All of that is the knee, okay? They're not looking at the ankle. I don't know if it's, and I think it's a lot to do with they don't have the history, they don't, maybe not aware of what's going on to the extent, but it's like, you know, Nazi Germany, right? You know, when the economic climate of Germany in those days were terrible, Hitler blamed the Jews. And as a result, you ended up with 6 million Jews dead and the world at war. That's what happens when you scapegoat. You end up in wars, okay? You don't end up in solutions, okay? Because solutions are hard, okay? And it means that if you're going to be a politician, rather than coming up with a solution that solves the problem at the risk of you losing, no, that's not on the table. I have to make sure that, you know, my votes are secured. And so is that the supply and demand has been mismanaged. So if you look at 1998, when Barry Farrington handed me the file on taxis, and I was so excited to get it, he knew what he was doing and I didn't. We had Atlantis, okay? Atlantis was the only game in town. You had 1,200 taxi plates in the system, about 900 were on the road, okay? And there was a moratorium in place, okay? Now, the supply and demand was not in balance. There was more supply, that's the taxis, than demand, that's the visitors. That's who takes taxis. Bahamians don't take taxis and taxis don't give rides to Bahamians, so it's another problem. But you had this imbalance, okay? Along came the airport development, and that created more balance because, you know, more passengers came in and blah, blah, blah. Then you had Bahamar, more passengers, okay? So the balance is starting to get more beneficial. And then you had the cruise port. Again, now we're chopping here. We've got now, you know, almost in 2022, you go from 1,200 taxi plates listed, 900 in the system, and you add another 800. Now, I don't think I have to explain that to anyone listening because you know what would be bound to happen, okay? So the problem with the taxis, and by the way, and I'm going to reveal something why we got deliveries on the door and at the airport. The problem with the taxis is they are unknowingly scapegoating because their problem is not deliveries. Because to the extent that people come out of the airport and take an SUV for $100 or whatever it is minor compared to the problem they have with more people being on their line. You might have gone from 100, 150 people at the airport line to 300 people. That means that instead of being 150th, I'm now 300th. And that's taken a long time. I may not get a job. So what do? You find someone to blame. You blame the deliveries. You blame the airport or the hotel for having deliveries on the door. That's what you do. But you're just massaging the knee.
But I mean, you don't think who's to blame, but just can't do it because that's the hand that feeds him. That's
gave him
the
a
only
favor.
doctor who knows how to at least alleviate a little bit of pain. And if I criticize this doctor too much, I might be completely legless.
Well, I don't know if that follows, because in this instance, the surgeon is the government. So I don't know how a taxi driver or a livery person who has a plate issued to them has any problem with criticizing a government process, because they can't really lose their license or anything. They're not going to be. I think that they're just not completely aware of the problem. Okay, so for instance, the taxis will complain about deliveries on the door. So they will go after Atlantis or the airport. All right, I'm going to show you a document, okay? And I'm going to read this document to you, just, in summary. This is a document, February 2004.
Wow.
Okay? 21 years ago.
Wow.
All right? And it's written by Mr. Brensel Roll from the Road Traffic Department. By the way, he knows I'm going to say this. I made sure everyone is aware. And it's called The Creation of a Limousine Call-Up System.
Wow.
Okay? Now, that's, okay? Now, he writes, I have been directed to request that Curzon International consider the placement of a limousine line at the Royal and Coral Towers, respectively. Now, let me focus on the word consider. When you get a letter from an official government thing, consider means, okay.
Do it.
Yeah. It is anticipated that once the limousine line place, limousine drivers will be dispatched whenever a guest at the property requests the service. To ensure that this call-up line is consistent with and similar to the line established at the Nassau Airport, the following was agreed. And then they come up with okay? Now, a month later, I responded to Mr. Roll, and I said this. That, by the way, was written to me. So this isn't a guesswork thing, okay? Dear Mr. Roll, we are in receipt of your letter dated February 18, 2004, calling for a creation of a limousine call-up system at the Royal and Coral Towers at Atlantis. Having met with both the Honorable Gladys Hannah Martin, Minister of Transport, and Mr. Leon Griffin, President of the Bahamas Taxi Union, we are prepared to allow such a system to be implemented under the following conditions. Number one, while we would concede to a dual call-up system, taxis and limousines, we would not allow independent limos to have a position on the door. From our perspective, there is no logistical capacity to place limousines on the door, both as it pertains to actual physical space and from the point of view that placing limousines it would place limousines in an advantageous position over taxis. The latter being the position held by the Bahamas Taxi Union. Therefore, if limos were placed on the door, it would lend to conflict between taxis and limos. As such, when a passenger requests a limo, our doorman will call the lot and ask for the limo first in line. In other words, we'll do the system, limo should be in the lot, and when the person needs a limo, we'll call them up. Now, what that very clearly
2004.
states, it's 2004. What that clearly states is this. We were requested to put limos on the door. We did not wish to put limos on the door. But as of course, we resulted in limos on the door because at the end of the day, we're not in control. So that's just, that's not waste time about why limos on the door. It's not because the hotel is on the door. So that's number one. Let's clear that out of the picture. Let's look at NAD. NAD did not even exist when limos were put on the door at the airport.
Wow.
So if you're going after NAD to say solve this issue, which by the way is a quasi-government entity, okay? And before NAD occurred, the airport authority was the controlling entity at the airport, which was a government entity. So the government essentially, in tandem with the union at the time, agreed to allow the limousines on the door, okay? NAD inherited that. So NAD is not, A, they didn't do it, and B, they're not in a position to unilaterally remove that because it's a government entity, they would have that. So the government would be removing it, okay? And let me just say this, nothing is going to get removed, okay? Nothing will get removed. What they will have to do is figure out how to work with each other and to police themselves, because whether it's the police, whether it's the road traffic officers, whether it's NAD security or the doorman at Atlantis, you're going to end up with corruption. So,
but some of the legislation says that these limos, as you're calling it, the deliveries should be prearranged, as in booked. Should that not be the case, and no longer should you be able to walk out the airport and hail a limo or a livery?
Well, two things. You're absolutely correct, and here's where where again the twisting of the ankle, perfect example, came into being. Liveries under the law are only allowed to have prearranged customers from their place of business, which means that you got to call or book an appointment, and then they will pick you up. Okay, and in fact, you'll see in this we made provision for limos who had prearranged to come, wait 10 minutes for their customer, and we needed to know in advance that you had this customer. Okay. Policy was changed to allow them on the door. So the government waived essentially, or with, I suppose, in tandem with the limousine, with the taxi union at the time, and there will be other letters here where they expressed their concern, having agreed to it, from the Leon Griffin, who was the president at the time, basically waived this policy. It's the same scenario at the dock. Taxis are supposed to solicit fares. But the policy was waived and allowed them to now also solicit for tours. So both have these kind of policy breaches that are creating havoc. But here's the thing. If you really want to get to the crux of the matter, and you go back to supply and demand, the crux of the matter is there are too many vehicles with little demand. And the question then has to be asked, how did we get to this supply? And this is the thing that no one's going to really like. Publish the list of taxi plate holders. Okay? I don't know what the laws are around it, but it's a publicly issued plate. It's a public commodity or whatever you want to call it, that is not paid for, by the way. To get a plate, you just apply. Right. There's no fee. If you want to apply for a medallion, a taxi medallion in the United States, it's like $100,000. Okay, and it's generational. Once you have it, you can pass it down, which is really out of control. So the question is this: who has these plates? Because the authority about why they increase these plates this much is that there have been people leasing plates. Now, you're familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. There are people leasing plates for decades. And they wanted to give those people a chance at, having a plate.
Right.
Very noble. The question is, why didn't you take it from the people who were leasing it to them? So if Ed Fields or Dwight Strachan or Chester Robards sitting up in their little studio, air-conditioned, has a good job, why does he have two plates that he is leasing out to someone? Okay, you want to solve the problem? Take his two plates and give it to the people who he's leasing to, because they're not in the transportation business, okay? And unfortunately, and I'm going to say it really loud, okay? Unfortunately, if you publish that list, and not company names, we need names. If you publish that list, what you're going to find on that is names that people don't want you to see. Wow. That's the thing. So let's talk about that. There's going to be a lot of names, okay? A lot of names of people in the public sector, of people in the, wherever the heck they are, who all they have is a plate, by the way. And they make a guy get a car. He has to get his own car. He has to pay for the gas. He has to pay for the insurance. And that guy, the guy who owns the plate, collects $500 or whatever a week. So he's hustling. Okay, he's hustling. And so what has happened is the leasing hasn't stopped because those people now lease it to someone else. Okay? So what you have is indentured servitude. Okay? It's like sharecropping. I own the land, you go ahead and work it and bring me all, and then you can keep a little piece. Okay? And that's the crux of the problem. So my challenge very clearly, and this is going to affect everyone from, BDP, FNM, UDP, whatever the P in it. Publish a list. Publish the list.
I can't recall that ever happening, so we can't even go somewhere and find this list? Is that what you...
I assume you can go... you see, and this is why when I was talking, about the responsibility of the media, of digging into what the problem is, okay? in theory, and this is where the Freedom of Information Act and all this thing comes into play, and why no one ever pushes for this stuff. And by the way, we have a kind of you ever heard of the concept of mutually assured destruction? It's where during the nuclear age, Cold War, basically they said, you know what, everyone needs to get a nuclear bomb because if I press the button, you can press the button. Well, our weapon is corruption. Okay, if I pimp on you, that's a 1960s word. Okay, you can pimp on me. Right. So nobody move, nobody get hate. Okay. Right. Well, I'm not involved in any of that. I don't have no plate. I don't have no. I'm running for no. So I push in the button. The media should be able to go to the road traffic department and say, I wish to see the list of plate holder names. This is a public facility that is issued to people who apply for it. And I want to know who these people are. And I don't want to see, Ace Company, 10 plates. I want to see who the beneficial owner is. Now, here's what proves you right, or proves me right. They ain't gonna publish the list. Okay? By not publishing the list, they prove me right. Because if I'm wrong, they'll just publish the list and show me that I'm wrong. You ain't gonna get the list.
Yeah. All right. We've got calls and text messages coming in, and I want to come back to you to find out what real difference you think. You said we're gonna not see some names. We're gonna see some names we don't want to see.
You're not gonna get the list,
but we're not gonna get it anyway. But I mean, how much of a difference do you really think that it's going to make?
Well, if you, I'll wait till you want to come back.
Someone could leak the list.
Well, they could leak the list, but what's going to be his name? So
as you said,
there'll be company names. Then we got to go. But you dig. This is what you guys are supposed to be doing. You dig. You got to go to the registry and see on the company name.
All right, let's take the calls. You can call in, folks. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight.
Good morning.
And to Chester Robots and to Mr. Ed Fields, Eric and Ed in the morning on 100 Jams. Great times.
How you doing, man?
Yes, absolutely. Dwight, Mr. Fields has hit the proverbial head of the nail on several matters, namely the freedom of information, the impact on who some of the plate holders are. I disagree with him, however, with the supply and the demand. And with the market slightly oversaturated, I don't disagree with that. And had some challenges with the rollout as well. However, when we talk about the challenge with the livery presence on the Atlantis door and on the airport door, I don't think it's as cut and dry as he's presented. Some things he obviously was in tune and has his information on, but I feel like there was a failure, being in public transportation, by the way, that the Atlantis on their side, and we are unfortunately very corrupt, man, on the Atlantis doors, many of the bellmen, in order for them to make some extra money, did not necessarily adhere to the protocols. And you would find more often than not them making recommendations as opposed to people asking for livery services or SUVs, their attempt to make a couple of dollars, circumventing the system, so to speak, so that the taxi guys were excluded. Now, one last point, Dwight. At the airport, if the law states, and the control of road traffic does what is the law? So whatever agreement they came to would have been null and void on arrival. You don't get to decide or change what the law is and make it possible for livery cars or SUVs to be on the airport door. Now, there's a public area at the airport specifically for SUVs and liveries, which is fine. If I think the airport and NAD didn't do the best jobs in terms of if there were prearranged and they were abiding within the provisions of the law at the airport, that they were prearranged, that if NAD, to avoid some of the conflict there, have the drivers or the companies present, I have a pickup at one on this flight, that flight, the next flight, everybody's on one page. Something if the taxi drivers came and said, well, hey, these guys are soliciting and they shouldn't be able to. From the parking lot, NAD went ahead and allowed a presence for SUVs to be on the door, which is a direct violation of the law as it sits. They shouldn't be parked there.
Well,
If it's the distance from the parking lot where the liveries are to the airport it wouldn't take that long for, if they have a pickup, to allow them on the door to pick up their passengers. So NAD was complicit, as was Atlantis to an extent, by not managing their employees properly. That contributed to some of the challenges in this attitude and the fight that now exists between, at those two locations anyway, between the taxis and delivery. I just wanted to add that. But a lot of Mr. Field's points are spot on.
Let me say this to you, sir, and I'm going to assume that you're a taxi driver versus a limo driver.
No, that's not the point. I have
No. I'm just no.
Wait, and I have public scheduled vehicles.
Okay,
it's a combination of them. Yeah.
Okay, but let me just say this. First and foremost, I think you may have heard me say that the corruption exists amongst all players, including doormen, NAD securities. And I say this very candidly. I mean, I'm not pointing to anyone. Anyone who, and you know why? Because we've created an environment that nurtures corruption. Okay? So let me say this. So I did not excuse anyone in the play. What I'm talking about is there were several issues here. A, how did they get on the door? And I read to you very, very clearly the objection to Atlantis wanting to have limos placed on the door. Right. I can tell you that the limos on the door at NAD was in as a result of negotiations with the taxi union and at the time the airport authority. NAD did not exist in 2003, 2004, sir. Okay, it just didn't exist. So that's not it's just the way it is.
But at the Atlantis, if I may, Mr. Fields, if you pull up to the Atlantis door where the Pegasus are, on the right side, if you're facing the entrance to the Atlantis, there is an area that SUVs and livery cars are specifically allowed to park.
I don't know if you know, but I'm obviously quite aware of that. I'm saying how they got there is the question. Okay?
It is a contravention of the law, which is what I'm stating to you. I get the corruption aspect of it. It's dead on arrival.
No, I agree with you. You see, you're missing the point that I'm making. I agree with you. So if you could hear that very clearly, I'm saying that when you are directed by the government of the Bahamas to do something, that's what you do. That's all I'm trying to say.
They were forced to do that. Okay, so do you think that if we went back to what the law initially said, that arranged this has had to be booked?
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to.
No.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
But let's say it did by some miracle. Would that change things? Would that help the situation, especially in light of the fact that we will very likely never see this list?
Let me give you an example about why it's not going to happen. Another example is Cabbage Beach. When you allow, so if let's just look at there's a thing called quieting. If you allow me to plant corn on your property for the next 20 years, and I take over that, I can go to court and take your land. When you allow things to go on for 20 years, where people have livelihood expectations, politically, it's not going to happen. I would be happy to be wrong, because you're going to have to alienate how many ever people in one side. Okay, so I don't see it happening. Okay, if it was going to happen, it should have happened from day one. Okay, or it never happened in the first place. Okay, it's like saying to taxi drivers, you're never going to go to them and say now at the dock you can't do tours. That's going to go off. That's just not going to happen. It's a mutation. We live in an environment where things have mutated, and you can't unmutate something.
And so why isn't a class action law? If it's law and you could argue it, why isn't there a class action from the taxi guys?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. For one, they could change the law. Okay,
That's
so I mean, even if you
that's what could change. Go to a different doctor if you go back to your
they can in order to make that happen, they can just change the transportation law to accommodate it. I mean, that's the power that they have. But
say never say never.
Yeah,
it could. If the system changed.
No, I'm saying that if the system says now that liveries are not allowed to be on the door, in theory the law could be changed to allow them on the door.
Right.
Okay, which would be the appeasement of okay. But another point to look at is this, and how we live in a mutated society, and how supply and demand is an issue. If you go to any airport in the world, there are a myriad of transportation options available to you.
Yeah.
Uber, which we will never have here. Hotel shuttles. Obviously they have limos that wait for you that are prearranged, and of course taxis. We're the only scenario where for some reason,
And
or
the
the
city
other,
bus you could get.
and the city bus and the railway and the road. Okay,
yeah.
And I guess you could walk if it's close enough. But the reality is, we seem to be focused on should only be one option, and I don't know if that's the right paradigm.
Wow. Let's take this call really quickly. We're running out of time, caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Congratulations to you, Mr. Fields. You are spot on when you say that they wouldn't publish the name. I would like to say that when you talk about the call-up and the limousine, it's like having a prearranged thing and having your representative with the customer's name, the airport, right?
Yeah, so prearranged is like when you see someone holding up a sign and it says
Right.
Fields, that would be prearranged. What has happened is they've allowed cars on the door, so what happens is the passenger coming out can see these two options, and often either solicited or they choose them because they see a taxi that may not be in the greatest of shape. I'm not decrying taxi; I take them all the time, and they choose. Okay, I'll take a limo instead.
And that's their guest. And that's their guest coming through.
No, that's not their guest. It can be just someone who is just coming through who didn't have prearranged. You see?
Yeah, well, okay. And you said about not the list with the company names because everything is hidden using company names around the place, and you want the list for the persons who hold these licenses, but instead of company names like some companies run your whole garbage contract nowadays, and it doesn't say who the person owning these garbage companies, right?
Look, listen,
Thanks for the
sir.
caller.
I can guarantee you, and I think I want to go on a limb here. I can guarantee you would be shocked if you were able to find out who owns those. Shocked of the names on the and by the way, I'm sure that it hits everyone, because these have been handed out as political treasures.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the list?
No.
But you know some of the names.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
You can hear things.
There are people. Listen, they're officials.
Yeah.
By virtue just of their role, they are not allowed under general orders to be engaged in that. Okay.
And as you said, people who've long been dead. Many generations. Yeah. Okay, so these really quickly. This person says here they need to revise the plates. Too many people have multiple plates. I'm in the business and I have driven on both sides. I own one plate, but why do some people have more than one plate?
Right. So this is the thing. So you have this problem with leasing. I applaud the attempt to give those who have been sharecroppers essentially for decades a plate because they're in the business.
Right.
Okay. The plates that some people own have been generational. Okay. There are people who have plates who they're nowhere near the transportation, but this is additional income. They lease out these plates. I can tell you how they got multiple plates is through political favoritism, both sides, because they just know someone who could give them the plates. Okay, that's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's actually saying here there's plenty of people who got fake Bahama hosts to get a franchise. What now?
Well,
and are not in the
hosts,
business.
I don't want to comment on that. That's a whole other story.
Yeah. Well, Ed Fields, well, you put it out there. Publish the list. It's more likely that Jupiter will be our guest in the studio. I don't know.
Yeah. But you see, that's isn't that sad?
It's very sad
because that's the problem. Okay, and there was a moratorium that got lifted. Who's on that list? Who's on that list, man?
Wow. Which one do you think is more disturbing? The people, the new people who got the plates, or the existing one?
I think it's a combination of both. Yeah, because
Wow.
I think quite a few people who would have gotten plates would have been people who leased plates in the past. But I'm sure that it's juicy stuff, man.
Well, the challenge is out there. We'll see. We'll see. Don't hold your breath, right?
Don't.
Ed Fields, thank you so much for being here and shedding some interesting light on this very, almost a generation now issue. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a great weekend. Chester Robards, thank you for being here.
Always a pleasure. Just wanted to say that taxi driver who called the show one day, who was supposed to email me, never emailed me for some reason.
Okay.
If he could email me.
All right. Have a great weekend. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Oh nope, today's Friday. Wow, I need a vacation. I'll be back Monday with more Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great weekend. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.